There comes a point in every man's life when something inside him quietly dies, not from tragedy, but from exhaustion. It happens the day you realise that being the good guy never protected you. You kept giving, forgiving, explaining, softening every edge that made you dangerous. You thought that by being kind, you'd earn peace, but all you did was train people to see your warmth as weakness. You weren't destroyed by cruelty, you were drained by indifference. The world didn't break you, it simply revealed how easy you were to break. I remember watching someone close to me go through that transformation. He used to be the kind of person who'd say yes even when it burned him. He forgave people who forgot his name, helped those who used him, and apologised for things he never did. Years later, I saw him again, and the softness was gone. His eyes didn't plead anymore. They measured. When I asked what happened, he said, "The world didn't change. I did. I stopped being easy to break." That sentence hit me like a confession from the future, because deep down, I knew it wasn't just his story. It was mine, and maybe it's yours too. There are two versions of you walking this earth. The first is the appeaser, the one who explains, justifies, overgives, and keeps hoping others will change. You crave understanding, love, respect, but you chase them in places that have none to give. You think peace means avoiding conflict, but that kind of peace costs your soul. Then there's the second version, the quiet one. The version that doesn't argue, doesn't beg, doesn't chase. They simply remove. No noise, no guilt, no explanations. Which version are you feeding right now? Because the longer you live as the first, the more the world will eat you alive and call it love. Every time you explain yourself to the wrong person, you dig your own emotional grave. The first step toward becoming ruthless is understanding this. Your biggest weakness was never your heart. It was where you placed it. You've been bleeding energy into the ungrateful. You've been trying to convince parasites to see your light. But parasites don't admire light. They consume it. You kept hoping that your generosity would make them love you. But in the psychology of power, what's freely given is subconsciously devalued. People instinctively equate generosity with inferiority. They assume if you give too easily, it's because you're desperate to be liked. And once someone senses your need, they own you. That's how weakness is born, not from failure, but from emotional dependence disguised as compassion. The ungrateful aren't monsters, they're opportunists. They sense which souls are willing to bleed for validation and feed on them quietly. They don't steal your energy. They make you hand it over, smiling. They don't need to control you with force, only guilt. They twist your empathy into a leash, then hand it back to you as proof of your good heart. But a heart without boundaries is not virtue, it's a weapon turned inward. They don't break you by hating you, they break you by needing you. Here's the Machiavellian truth. People respect pain, not explanations. They remember the consequence, not the compassion. The more predictable your forgiveness, the less they value your peace. Every time you tolerated disrespect, you trained them to treat you as disposable. Every time you explained your worth, you confessed your insecurity. That's the silent psychology behind why the good break first. The world doesn't destroy kind souls, it teaches them that unguarded kindness is indistinguishable from weakness. So stop believing your empathy will save you. It won't. It will make you useful. The world doesn't honour what's soft, it exploits it. Stop thinking you owe loyalty to people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. Stop mistaking your open hand for strength. Real strength is learning when to close it. Detachment isn't coldness, it's correction. It's the moment you stop rewarding betrayal with access. It's when you realise that some people don't deserve your response, your energy, or your explanation. When you finally pull back the ungrateful panic, they'll accuse you of arrogance, of being cold, of changing. But that's because your silence exposes their dependence. They can't feed off you anymore. That's when the power shifts. You become the one who decides who gets your attention and who fades into irrelevance. The world belongs to those who know how to conserve their energy like a weapon, not to those who spill it like a wish. Every ounce of strength you waste on the wrong people is power stolen from your future. They don't miss you. They miss the control your kindness gave them. Withdraw it. Guard it. Rebuild it. Let them wonder what happened to your warmth. Tell them it froze the day you saw the truth, because some people deserve your distance more than your devotion. Detachment is your defense. Indifference is your revenge. Ruthlessness isn't cruelty, it's clarity. It's the act of burning everything that made you easy to manipulate. From that fire, a new version of you rises, one that no longer bends to be loved, no longer bleeds to be seen. And when you become that version, silent, certain, unshakable, something extraordinary happens. The world stops testing you. They still talk, they still try, but deep down, they sense it. You're no longer breakable. You're no longer theirs to shape. If this truth resonates, stay. This place isn't for comfort, it's for clarity. Here we don't worship peace, we build it. My kindness has limits. Pain doesn't lie. It doesn't care about your ego, your intentions, or your excuses. It isn't poetic, it's primitive. It shows you what's fragile inside you and sets it on fire. Every person who's ever rebuilt themselves began in that fire. They didn't pray for the flames to stop, they learned to breathe through the smoke. That's what separates the powerful from the broken. Not how much pain they've felt, but how deeply they've listened to it. You've been taught to fear pain, to run from it, to treat it like an intruder instead of a messenger. But pain is information, pure, unfiltered truth. It tells you exactly where your weakness lives. Every betrayal points to where you trusted too quickly. Every rejection reveals where you outsourced your worth. Every loss unmasks the illusion that anything external was ever permanent. Once you understand that, pain becomes a teacher, not a sentence. The lesson is harsh but clean. What hurts is showing you what still controls you. Weak minds drown because they keep asking why me, as if the universe owes them fairness. But fairness is a myth. The world doesn't hand out justice, it hands out consequences. The ruthless know this. They don't cry for closure, they extract meaning. They sit with the wound until it speaks. Because when you stop seeking relief and start seeking revelation, your suffering stops being suffering. It becomes strategy. The world isn't punishing you, it's promoting you to a harder level of truth. Pain is the forge where dominance is born. Think of steel. It's weak until it's tempered by fire. You're no different. Every heartbreak, every humiliation, every collapse, it's not destroying you. It's stripping you of illusion. The strong don't waste agony complaining. They invest it. They use it as currency to buy discipline. They turn sorrow into silence, rejection into focus, rage into clarity. While others drown in emotion, they learn to breathe underwater. When life hits you, don't flinch. Observe. Ask, what is this teaching me about control? That question alone separates you from the masses. Most people are obsessed with avoiding discomfort. They'd rather numb the pain than master it. But what you refuse to face, you remain enslaved to. When you stare your suffering in the eyes without blinking, it loses its ability to dominate you. You start using pain instead of being used by it. Pain is power, just in a language most people never learn to read. This is why the broken and the ruthless can experience the same tragedy and emerge as opposites. The broken collapse inward, begging for comfort. The ruthless expand, demanding clarity. One asks, why did this happen? The other asks, what advantage does this give me? That's the psychology of transformation. When you stop romanticizing your suffering and start mining it, you begin to evolve. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become the architect of consequence. Pain is a mirror. It reflects who you truly are when comfort is gone. It reveals whether your peace was real or conditional. It exposes whether your strength was self-built or borrowed from validation. Most people are terrified of that reflection, which is why they never change. But those who can look directly into their discomfort without self-pity become unrecognizable. They speak with gravity. They move with calm authority. They carry an aura that says, "I've already been through worse." The scar you hide is the instruction manual for your future. Machiavelli once said that fortune favors those who can adapt to disaster. He understood what most never do, that pain is the great equalizer. It humbles kings and forges soldiers. It burns away entitlement and leaves only precision. The fire doesn't ask permission, it reveals potential. Every test, every heartbreak, every betrayal is the world asking, are you ready to evolve, or do you still need more pain to learn? The answer decides everything, because the truth is, pain only ends when it's done teaching. If you resist the lesson, it repeats. Over and over, in new faces, new situations, new disguises, until you finally stop reacting and start understanding. That's when suffering turns into sovereignty. That's when your past stops defining you and starts defending you. When you reach that stage, something changes in your energy. People feel it before you speak. You no longer carry pain like a burden. You wear it like armor. You stop oversharing your wounds for sympathy. You start guarding them as sacred proof of what you've survived. You no longer need to prove your strength. Your silence does it for you. So the next time pain knocks at your door, don't hide from it. Invite it in. Study it. Let it burn away what's weak, sentimental, unnecessary. The fire isn't there to destroy you. It's there to refine you. And when it's done, you won't be fragile anymore. You'll be forged. My pain builds power. The hunger to be understood is one of the most seductive traps in human psychology. You crave it because it feels noble, like a pursuit of connection or truth. But it's not truth you're after. It's validation. You want someone to look into you and say, I see you, and you make sense. Yet the world rarely does that. Most people don't want to understand you. They want to define you. They listen not to comprehend, but to categorize. They don't see your depth. They see your usefulness. And the more you explain yourself, the more you arm them with ways to control you. Every clarification is a breadcrumb that leads straight to your emotional center. You think you're building bridges, but you're building maps. Maps they will later use to find your weaknesses. In dark psychology, to understand is to control. That's why manipulators love talkers. The more words you use, the more weapons you give them. The powerful, however, understand a simple truth. Control lives in mystery. They reveal little, act quietly, and never show all their motives. Power doesn't justify itself. It simply is. The more you explain, the smaller you become. Most people defend themselves out of fear of being misread, misjudged, misunderstood. But explanation is a defensive act, and defense exposes vulnerability. When you explain, you signal that you care what others think. You confess that their opinion holds power. The ruthless refuse to do that. They understand that silence unnerves people because it leaves space for projection. When others can't read you, they start inventing stories about you. And those stories, those assumptions, make them cautious. That's the secret. The less you reveal, the more they respect. Think about it. The loudest person in the room is rarely the one in control. Noise is a symptom of insecurity. The one who speaks last, or not at all, owns the rhythm of the conversation. Their silence bends the energy of the room. It makes others lean in. They don't demand attention, they command it through stillness. And stillness is terrifying to those addicted to noise, because silence reflects. It forces people to see themselves, and most can't stand the view. Your silence is not absence, it's authority. So stop over-explaining. Stop sending paragraphs to people who already decided how to misunderstand you. Let them. Let them think you're cold, arrogant, detached. Every false label becomes a piece of armor. Every assumption they make is a confession of their projection. You owe no one clarity for your distance, your standards, or your evolution. The only person who needs to understand your choices is you. When you stop defending yourself, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is the twin of fear. You can learn a lot from how leaders throughout history manage perception. The strongest rulers spoke less than they knew, revealed less than they planned, and moved faster than anyone could anticipate. They weaponized ambiguity, because when no one knows what you'll do next, they tread lightly. That psychological dominance in its purest form, control through uncertainty, power through restraint. Every time you rush to explain your intentions, you hand over the blueprint of your emotions. You tell people what triggers you, what scares you, what wins you. You train them to manipulate you. Transparency might feel honest, but it's naive. The world doesn't reward honesty, it weaponizes it. You can't afford to be an open book when the people reading it are only looking for pages to tear out. If they can predict you, they can control you. Start practicing the art of quiet. Let your silence stretch long enough to make others uncomfortable. It's in that tension that you regain control. Power isn't loud, it's heavy. It fills space without effort. The people you truly admire, the ones who radiate calm, certainty, danger, they don't waste words. They move through the world like storms that announce nothing and change everything. Next time someone misjudges you, don't correct them. Don't rush to prove your intentions. Let them stay wrong. There's power in being underestimated. When people think they have you figured out, they stop watching you closely, and that's when you can move freely. The strongest strategy is often invisibility, remaining a mystery even when you're in plain sight. Over time, you'll notice something strange. Your silence will start to work for you. It will filter out the insecure, attract the disciplined, and unsettle the manipulators. You won't have to raise your voice anymore. Your presence will be enough. Because silence, when mastered, becomes an aura. It's not weakness. It's control disguised as calm. So ask yourself this. Do you want to be understood or untouchable? Because you can't be both. The ones who are truly powerful aren't trying to be seen. They've learned to be felt. If you're still here, you're not seeking comfort. You're seeking truth. That's why this space exists. Here, understanding isn't the goal, clarity is. My silence speaks power. Stop chasing what's walking away. Nothing drains power faster than running after what has already chosen to leave. You call it fighting for love, trying to make it work, or being loyal. But the truth is simpler and uglier. You're begging. Every time you chase what rejects you, you whisper to the world that you believe you have less value. The more you run toward it, the smaller you become in its eyes. Detachment, then, isn't cruelty. It's self-respect. It's remembering that love without reciprocity is dependency in disguise. We live in a culture that romanticizes pursuit. Movies, music, even our language worship the idea of not giving up. But the strongest people know when to stop. The ability to walk away from something you wanted is the highest form of control. Most people never learn it because they confuse attachment with loyalty. They think holding on proves devotion, when in truth, it proves addiction. Loyalty is strength. Attachment is slavery. One comes from choice, the other from fear. Ask yourself, How many of your commitments are actually cages you built yourself? The one who chases always kneels before the one who withholds. The psychology is cruel but precise. When you chase, you create imbalance. The other person feels they're the prize, you become the pursuer, and power always flows to the one who's being pursued. The act of begging, whether for time, affection, or closure, doesn't inspire empathy. It triggers superiority. Manipulators know this instinctively. They pull away not to leave, but to watch you crumble. They feed on your reaction. They study your desperation. Every text you send, every apology you shouldn't have made, every attempt to make them understand, that's their victory. But the ruthless detach differently. They don't fight for explanations. They watch in silence. When someone disrespects them, they vanish. When someone withdraws, they let them, because absence is louder than any confrontation. When a once reactive person goes quiet, the shift is seismic. The manipulator panics. Their usual buttons don't work anymore. Their power dies in the vacuum of your calm. That's why detachment terrifies them. It kills the oxygen their control depends on. The most dangerous person in the room isn't angry. It's the one who no longer reacts. When you master detachment, something profound happens. You start choosing peace over participation. You stop trying to win arguments that don't matter. You stop rehearsing comebacks in your mind. You stop craving closure from those who shattered you. Instead, you reclaim your silence. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care correctly. First about yourself, then about everything else. It's emotional discipline disguised as stillness. And the truth is, peace costs. You don't get it for free. You pay for it with people, with old dreams, with versions of yourself that once begged to be loved. But what you gain in return is sovereignty. You stop living like a reaction and start living like a decision. No one can weaponize your emotions if you've mastered them. No one can guilt you into chaos if your peace is no longer negotiable. You don't heal by getting answers. You heal by losing the need for them. Machiavelli wrote that the one who cannot master himself cannot master others. Emotional self-control is the foundation of every empire. If you can regulate your attachment, you can rule your world. The ruthless understand this instinctively. They don't chase, they attract. They don't beg, they choose. They don't wait, they decide. The moment you stop explaining your absence, it begins to speak for you. That's psychological warfare at its most elegant form. Your silence becomes a sentence, your distance a declaration. Let them wonder, let them guess, let them feel the weight of your withdrawal. It's not revenge, it's equilibrium. Because in every dynamic, the person who needs the least controls the most. You don't have to slam doors, just close them quietly. True authority isn't loud, it's final. When your presence stops being accessible, it starts being respected. That's how you reclaim your power in a world obsessed with noise and validation. When you stop chasing, the things meant for you stop running. Remember this, detachment doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. It doesn't mean you don't feel, it means you've decided where to invest those feelings. The power of walking away isn't about punishing others, it's about protecting your peace. The people who truly care will never require your chaos as proof of your love. The ones who do, let them feel your absence like a mirror they can't escape. Because the moment you stop begging, you stop bleeding. And when you stop bleeding, no one can feed on you again. That's when you've crossed over, when you finally understand that control isn't about holding tighter. It's about letting go so completely that nothing outside you can shake your foundation ever again. I choose peace over people. Power without protection is a slow death. You can be intelligent, kind, ambitious, but without boundaries, you're an open wound. anyone can enter, take what they need, and leave you empty. That's why boundaries aren't selfish. They're survival. They are the invisible walls that separate peace from chaos. You've been conditioned to believe that saying no is cruel, that limiting access makes you unkind. But the truth is brutal. Every time you allow someone to cross a line unpunished, you betray yourself. Every time you forgive without consequence, you teach them that your forgiveness is free. And nothing that's free is respected. You think tolerance makes you noble, but tolerance without limits makes you invisible. People don't see the kind person who always gives another chance. They see a door that never locks. And the human instinct is to test doors. They push until it opens. They push until it breaks. Because curiosity becomes contempt when boundaries are absent. You don't lose respect all at once. You lose it in small moments of silence, each time you allow disrespect to pass unaddressed. The ruthless understand this. Kindness without armor invites invasion. If you don't define your edges, someone else will decide where you end. Machiavelli once said that a prince who cannot protect himself cannot protect his kingdom. The same law governs your inner world. If you can't guard your peace, no one else will. The world doesn't honor openness, it exploits it. Those who smile at your softness today will weaponize it tomorrow, because when boundaries are missing, manipulation flourishes. People will test you not because they hate you, but because human nature needs to know where the limit is. When you fail to draw it, you become the experiment. Boundaries aren't barriers, they're architecture. They don't keep everyone out, they keep your peace in. They are not acts of cruelty, they're acts of clarity. And clarity terrifies manipulators because it removes their leverage. The moment you enforce a limit calmly and consistently, the dynamic shifts. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop performing for approval. Your silence becomes policy. Your distance becomes law. Boundaries don't chase respect. They command it. Forgiveness without consequence is submission. Mercy without structure breeds chaos. Every time you allow someone back without requiring change, you teach them that pain is reversible, that they can wound you and still stay close. That is not love. That's a strategy of control. The ruthless don't punish, they correct. They don't scream, they subtract. They don't explain the boundary, they become it. Because once you internalize the rule that your energy is sacred, your very presence starts to filter who deserves it. It's fascinating how quickly people change when access ends. The ones who mocked your standards suddenly respect them. The ones who drained your patience suddenly vanish. Silence and distance are purifiers. They burn away everything that isn't aligned with your peace. You don't need to make announcements or speeches. You don't need revenge. The absence of your attention is punishment enough. The loudest way to say no is to disappear, Machiavelli warned. He who allows himself to be deceived deserves deception. It sounds harsh, but it's mathematical. People can only mistreat you to the degree you allow it. You teach others how to treat you by what you tolerate. And if you never close the door, they will keep entering, even when they have no right to. Boundaries are your armor, but also your filter. They reveal who values your presence and who only valued your access. They separate the loyal from the opportunistic, the sincere from the strategic. You'll know your boundaries are working when your circle gets smaller but quieter, when your life feels less exciting but more peaceful. That silence isn't loneliness, it's sovereignty. It's the sound of chaos being replaced by control. The world will call you distant, cold, arrogant. Let them. They're just reacting to the authority you've built. They're mistaking your standards for hostility because they can no longer manipulate you with guilt. Your peace will offend everyone who profited from your chaos. So build your fortress, not from fear, but from wisdom. Your peace is not negotiable. Your empathy is not infinite. Your time is not renewable. The moment you realize this, you begin to command your world quietly, without shouting, without chasing, without compromise. The goal isn't to be liked, it's to be respected. To live without boundaries is to live without dignity. But once you enforce them, you'll notice something subtle. The right people never test your walls. They stand before them with reverence. Boundaries don't repel love, they refine it. They turn shallow admiration into deep respect. They replace chaos with peace, noise with stillness, and uncertainty with strength. Every no you speak is a declaration. This is where my peace begins. And those who truly value you will never ask you to lower your armor. They'll guard it with you. My boundaries protect me. Silence isn't emptiness. It's strategy. In a world addicted to noise, the one who can remain quiet holds all the cards. Most people talk because silence makes them nervous. They fill every space with words to prove confidence, to earn validation, to avoid the discomfort of their own thoughts. But every unnecessary word becomes ammunition for someone else's manipulation. That's why the powerful speak rarely and deliberately. They understand that silence is not the absence of communication, it's a language of control. When you master silence, you stop being predictable. The world expects you to react, to argue, to defend. The moment you don't, their entire framework collapses. They start to question your motives, your confidence, even your sanity. That's how silence turns from passive to dominant. It unsettles the noisy. Machiavelli warned against revealing too much of one's thoughts because predictability is a liability. The less they know, the more they imagine, and the more they imagine, the more they obey. They can't fight silence. It forces them to fight themselves. The quiet person in the room always holds more power than the one begging to be heard. Stillness isn't weakness, it's weight. It disturbs the fragile egos that rely on attention to exist. When you stop responding, you become an unsolvable equation in their minds. Your calm presence becomes a mirror, and they project their insecurities onto it. That's why silence creates fear. It's not what you're saying, it's what they think you might. The uncertainty becomes unbearable. When someone insults you, stay silent. Watch them drown in their own echo. When they provoke you, offer nothing. Let their desperation reveal itself, because words reveal emotion, and emotion reveals control. Every reaction you give away is a piece of power surrendered. Silence is psychological jujitsu. It turns their aggression inward. The more they reach for you, the more they confront themselves. Your silence is not surrender, it's surveillance. In dark psychology, silence is the ultimate tool of domination. It allows you to observe without being observed. It gives you data, how others behave when they're not being fed attention. When you say nothing, people reveal everything. They fill the space with their motives, their weaknesses, their guilt. The weak talk to feel significant. The wise listen to stay sovereign. Every pause you hold increases your authority. Every unspoken thought multiplies your value. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote that power thrives on perception. When people can't read your intentions, they begin to project fear. They second-guess your limits. They hesitate before crossing you. Silence builds mystique, and mystique builds dominance. The moment they wonder what you're thinking, you've already won. Because people don't fear what they understand. They fear what they can't predict. Mystery is just silence dressed in confidence. The loud chase attention. The silent command it. The loud demand belief. The silent inspire it. The loud try to prove their power, the silent embody it. You've probably felt this energy before, that person who enters a room and says nothing but everyone feels it. Their calm is magnetic, their restraint intimidating. That's not arrogance, it's self-possession. You can cultivate it. Speak only when your words add weight. Never explain your stillness. Let them guess whether it's patience or planning. True silence isn't muteness, it's measured intent. It's the art of knowing when to let the noise collapse under its own weight. You don't have to raise your voice to dominate chaos, you just have to outlast it. Every second you withhold a reaction, your presence grows louder. Power doesn't rush, it waits, and in waiting, it multiplies. The less you say, the more your silence will speak for you. Machiavelli also said that a wise man acts immediately while the fool speaks endlessly. Words are cheap, control is expensive. The fool defends himself with explanations, the wise guard himself with quiet. The moment you stop reacting, you switch from emotional to strategic. You stop being a player in their game and start commanding the board itself. Silence is what separates the reactive from the ruthless, and when you pair silence with self-mastery, you become untouchable. Because once people realize they can't provoke you, they stop trying. Their manipulation loses its audience. Their chaos meets your calm and dissolves. Silence becomes your fortress, a living barrier no one can breach. In a world where everyone's shouting, the one who listens becomes terrifying. So next time you're tempted to argue, to defend, to prove, don't. Let the noise consume itself. Let your restraint be the final word. Silence will do what explanations never could. It will expose the truth without you saying a thing. My silence controls chaos. Becoming ruthless was never about cruelty. It was about control. It was about deciding that your peace was too expensive to rent out to the undeserving. The world will test you, again and again. It will disguise weakness as virtue, manipulation as love, and chaos as connection. It will tell you that empathy means endurance, that tolerance means wisdom, that silence means defeat. But when you finally see through it, when you stop bleeding for those who feed on your softness, you awaken the version of yourself the world secretly fears, the untouchable one. The untouchable isn't numb. He feels everything, but he doesn't react. He observes betrayal and remains composed. He loses what he once begged for and doesn't flinch, because his peace no longer depends on anyone else's presence. That's what real power looks like. Self-possession so complete that chaos becomes background noise. Machiavelli wrote, "He who is master of himself is master of all." When you reach that level, nothing external can disturb your inner hierarchy. You've walked through fire to get here. You've learned to stop giving to the ungrateful. You've turned pain into power, killed your hunger to be understood, detached from what drains you, built boundaries like armor, and mastered the weapon of silence. These weren't just lessons, they were deaths. You burned an entire version of yourself to ash, and what rose was something rarer: clarity. You don't become powerful by adding more, you become powerful by subtracting what weakens you. The untouchable don't crave peace, they generate it. They've stopped begging for fairness or understanding. They no longer seek to be loved by the world because they finally love their own discipline more. They know that control doesn't come from dominating others, but from mastering the self. No one can exploit what you've already accepted within you. No one can threaten you with loss when you've learned how to let go. When you stop reacting, you become unpredictable. When you stop explaining, you become unreadable. When you stop needing, you become unstoppable. That's the trinity of untouchability: silence, control, detachment. Each one feeds the other. The world can shout, insult, or ignore, but nothing reaches you. You no longer respond from emotion, you act from strategy. That's the point where peace turns into power. The goal was never to feel nothing. The goal was to be untouchable while feeling everything. There will still be days when you feel the old self knocking, the version of you that needed to be understood, loved, validated. It will whisper, maybe this time will be different. Maybe they'll appreciate you. That's the echo of the past. Don't answer it. That voice belongs to someone who died in the fire. You buried them when you learned that kindness without limits is self-destruction, that forgiveness without consequence is submission, that peace without boundaries is slavery. This evolution isn't about arrogance, it's about equilibrium. You've learned to stop fighting the waves and become the tide. You've stopped trying to be liked and started demanding respect simply by existing. People will notice the shift. They'll feel your silence before they hear your words. They'll sense the absence of your old desperation and mistake it for distance. Let them. They're not meant to understand you. They're meant to feel your energy and adjust accordingly. You've stopped chasing approval, and that's why they now chase yours. Machiavelli said it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. He wasn't glorifying fear, he was describing balance. Fear in this sense means consequence. It means your presence carries weight. It means crossing you comes at a cost. That's what true respect is. Not affection, not agreement, but awareness of your limits. When people sense that, they behave differently. They measure their words, they tread carefully, and that's when you know you've become the axis around which the chaos spins, steady, centered, unshakable. This is the final transformation, the ruthless mind, the sovereign spirit, the untouchable soul. It doesn't happen through noise, it happens through subtraction, through silence, through self-command. The world no longer bends you because you've stopped seeking its permission to stand tall. You're no longer controlled by love, hate, or fear. You've become the one constant in a world built on instability. So from now on, walk through life like the storm you are, silent, certain, unbothered. Let the world project, test, misunderstand, let it scream. You don't owe it a reaction. You owe yourself peace. That's the difference between who you were and who you've become. I am untouchable now.